U.S. Senate unanimously passes Hong Kong Rights Bill.
Here's a summary of the article.
Washington, the U.S. Senate, in a unanimous vote, passed legislation on Tuesday aimed at protecting human rights in Hong Kong amid China's crackdown on a pro-democracy protest movement that has gripped the vital financial center for months. The Senate then passed a second bill, also unanimously, that would ban the export of certain munitions to Hong Kong police forces. There was no immediate response from the White House, which has yet to say whether Trump would sign or veto the Hong Kong Human Rights Bill. At the start of the brief Senate debate, Republican Senator Marco Rubio said, "The people of Hong Kong see what's coming, they see the steady effort to erode the autonomy and their freedoms," as he accused Beijing of violence and repression. Under the Senate bill, U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo would have to certify at least once a year that Hong Kong retains enough autonomy to qualify for special U.S. trading consideration that bolsters its status as a world financial center. Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer said following passage of the bill, "We have sent a message to President Xi, your suppression of freedom, whether in Hong Kong, in Northwest China or in anywhere else, will not stand. You cannot be a great leader, and you cannot be a great country, when you oppose freedom, when you are so brutal to the people of Hong Kong, young and old, who are protesting." Trump prompted questions about his commitment to protecting freedoms in Hong Kong when he referred in August to its mass street protests as riots that were a matter for China to deal with.
This post received a score of 54,370, with an upvote ratio of 94%. Here are the top comments in response to this article.
Can someone explain what implications this has for international relations?
China is incredibly sensitive about territorial integrity and sovereignty, so much so that non-interference in the internal affairs of other countries is almost a cliché. China sees our actions in HK and our actions towards the protests in Chile, Bolivia, etc. believes the disparity in attention is because of our malicious intent towards China. Obviously, the U.S. side points out China's illegal actions violating HK's rule of law, the 1997 agreement, etc. Australia is not going to put any meaningful pressure on China.
We are probably complicit at this point. I would not be surprised if there were sitting members in Parliament taking Chinese money under the table right now.
We already caught that slimy little fuck Dastiari.
Gladys Liu arguably much worse.
Simple explanation of the effects of this bill. 1. Sanctions on individuals mean that anybody on the list and their families cannot have any dealings with any U.S. companies. If they have any assets passing through U.S. banks, it'll be frozen. 2. The U.S. and other countries give Hong Kong a special status, separate from the rest of China. This law gives the executive power to jeopardize that status in the U.S. by submitting an annual report on whether Hong Kong is still sufficiently autonomous.
An interesting development with regards to the second point is that just yesterday the Standing Committee of the Chinese Parliament claimed sovereignty over the Constitutional Court of Hong Kong, in violation, reinterpretation of the Basic Law. If they maintain these claims, Hong Kong will not be sufficiently autonomous to maintain its special status.
Greater than Hong Kong will not be sufficiently autonomous to maintain its special status. Depending on the president in office and their political situation, it's not hard to imagine that any review, sanctions would be based more on the president's political reality than the reality in Hong Kong. Such a disconnect between political and actual realities is hardly unprecedented, nor would it even be unprecedented in the specific use case of ignoring actual reality in favor of political reality with regard to Chinese diplomacy, formally recognized by the U.S. for 40 years and counting. Hong Kong is most certainly autonomous and Beijing controls nothing there. It's called a bargaining chip for Trump's tariffs, he may use it to get farmers a better deal, sickening but true.
Maybe. But from reading about the Chinese government, they don't like to be pushed around or seem weak. This is doing both.
This video was automatically created by Reddit to speech. The article and comments in this video were selected from Reddit according to their upvotes, and any paraphrasing was performed by smmry.com, without any human intervention.